Okay, at this point I'd like to take a moment to show you how, as we have these files and we're working on them, what you can do to see what you have open for files. If you go to the View tab and you click on the Switch Windows, you can see that every view or elevation that I had open is still open over here. And it's not opening up a second version of it when I double click on it over here. See, I have first floor open. If I double click on first floor over here, it jumps to that view, but it doesn't create a second version of it. It just puts a checkbox next to that instead of these others. If you would like to not crash as often, keep an eye on these number of views that you have active, and every so often you can go to the view that you know that you want to currently work on and then just hit close hidden, and then that will close all the other views except for the one that you're currently working on. It takes a bit, quite a few views to have open to crash, but the fact is when you're using Revit, if you're not aware of that, you realize you have a lot of views open and a lot of them don't need to be open all at once. I will be showing you too when we get into creating the model how to look at more than one view at a time. Okay, so let's go into the Manage tab and we will take a look at the project units. So click on project units. And we're just going to set up some things so that they work to meet architectural standards, graphic standards, I should say. So one of the things that I want to fix that's a default in Revit is across from length. This is the format that gets used. It's just showing you that feet, inches, and fractions of an inch and how they'll be written. If you click on that, you have several options here. This is our precision, which can go down to 1 to 256, just like in AutoCAD. You can pick your units. This is appropriate, feet and fractional inches. But one of the things that I do want to turn on is I want to suppress 0 feet, so that if you have something that's less than a foot, instead of it saying 0 feet dash however many inches, it will just say the inches. So just turn that on and hit OK. Now if you look at some of the other settings, this is your square footage to however many decimal places, volume in cubic feet, the angle measurements, and we can use degrees, minutes, seconds, rads, or radians, things like that. Our slope is set to rise over 12 inches. You can have it change to rise over 1 foot if you prefer. So that's up to you. And I think, so those are all things that you would just decide what's appropriate for this project to do. In the project parameters, I'm sorry, there's under additional settings, there are some other little minor changes we're going to change to make things work a little bit more smoothly. So if you go down to temporary dimensions, you'll see that walls automatically dimension to their center lines, which makes sense for interior partitions. If we wanted dimension to exterior walls, we would go to faces of core. So I'm going to actually leave this on center line. Actually, I'm going to change that to faces of core for temporary dimensions, because I think this is going to come in more handy more often. And then for doors and windows, as a default, we want them to go to the center lines. which makes sense. So if we were using masonry, then we would want to go to our openings, thus getting our masonry openings as we put in our temporary dimensions. Okay, so this is just going to make things function a little bit better when we start to edit walls and windows as far as their placement goes. We'll hit OK. And what else do we want to? Another setting we can at least take a look at and see if it behaves a bit better if we reduce the number of snaps. I'm going to change the object snaps here. I'm going to turn off nearest, work point, plane grids, perpendicular tangents, and just leave the snaps that we might use in AutoCAD: endpoint, midpoint, quadrants, intersection centers. And if I decide that we need to add another, we can. The snap increments right now are set to these degree angles, and length dimension snap increments are these values depending on how closely we're zoomed in or how far away. So if I'm zoomed out very far, I get a 4-foot increment. If I zoom in a bit closer, I'll get 6 inches. If I zoom in a bit closer than that, and so on. And I believe the angles work in a similar fashion. Okay, so let's hit OK to that. And I think that's just about it for kind of the project setup. So in the next series of videos, we're going to actually start to lay out the walls. So take a look at that.